Hi friends, this is Patty Bennett. So good to see you again. I'm excited to share with you a new series of videos that I'm going to be doing each month, and it's going to be a technique challenge. This is something I'm doing with my Love to Stamp group, but if you would like to share your samples, just see my blog post for information about how to do that. And our technique challenge for the month of May is going to be Emboss Resist. Here are a couple samples of Emboss Resist, and what I mean by that is that this doily stamp from Stampin' Up! Has been embossed, and then we have put some ink on top of it that is resisting the embossed image, and then the ink just goes kind of all in the crevices and around. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you and then show you a couple of other samples. So of course what you'll need, of course, is some embossing ink, and there are different ways you could do this. I'm going to use a craft pad from Stampin' Up! In Whisper White because I want my image to be white. You could also use any colored embossing powder or pad or any combination, just depends what look you want. So I'm using the white craft pad and the Hello Doily stamp. That's one of these nice big background stamps from Stampin' Up! I love this one, it's so pretty. And I think what I'll do is place the stamp down on my table and then add the ink to it like this. Sometimes that's a little bit easier than putting your pad down on the table and trying to ink your stamp. Okay, so I've got some pretty good white ink coverage there. And then I'm going to stamp it on my Whisper White paper. I don't know if you remember the samples I just showed you, but I did show you that one was done on pink paper and the other one was done on white. So we'll review that again. And then if it sticks like that, you just peel it off, not a problem. And my white image is there on the white paper. I know that's hard to see, but it's there. And I do have my clear embossing powder in this little tray. It's just a sandwich container. It's how I like to do my embossing. So I just let it fall back into the container like that and then tap it off. So now I have clear embossing powder on top of my white stamped image. And then the next step, of course, is to heat emboss. Oh, one lesson I've learned is to always cover up my embossing powder before I turn on the heat tool, just because you don't want the heat tool to, boom, make that go everywhere. So let me just grab my heat tool holder here and we'll heat emboss this. And I'll just speed this up in fast motion so you don't have to watch the whole thing. So as you are finishing up with your heat embossing, you just want to make sure that it's shiny all over. You don't want any dull spots because that means that it has not embossed all the way. So I'm just moving it around here under the heat tool, and I think I have everything embossed. I'll just move that. And then before you apply the ink, you're going to want to make sure that this has cooled a little bit. It is a little warm, and you certainly wouldn't want to rub any of the embossing powder off of there if it's too warm. So I'm just letting it cool for just a second here. And then I'm going to take some classic ink, and this is Wisteria Wonder. And I have my sponge here with my cute little Wisteria Wonder tag that I've punched out of Wisteria Wonder cardstock and the tag punch from Stampin' Up! And I just staple that on and label it. That's a great way to label your sponges. And then I'm going to get some ink on my sponge. And I like to start in the center. And I'm going to swirl. And do you see how the white embossing is resisting the ink? Okay, so that the Wisteria ink is sticking to the white cardstock, but not to the embossed image. Get a little more ink. And again, starting in the center, I'm just going to go out a little bit further. And then I'm going to just come down here on the edge and give the edges a little bit more color. But I want this to kind of fade out. And you can even come in and give the edge a little bit darker if you want to. Then your last step is just to grab a tissue, and you want to rub off and make sure that any ink that is sticking to the embossed area comes off. And then isn't that pretty? You get such a beautiful resist. Let me just show you the samples again. So that was the sample with the Wisteria Wonder, and this one was Regal Rose with I believe that was Pink Pirouette cardstock. Any light pink will do. And I embossed them both with the white craft pad and clear ink, and then swirled my ink on there. And you can see how I darkened around the edge and sort of let it fade off onto that side. And then with both of them, I decorated it with the teacup. And that is from this pretty tea shop stamp set. And I wanted to show you that today because this is in the Occasions Mini Catalog from Stampin' Up, which expires on April 30th. So you don't have too much time. I want you to make sure that you have seen this really pretty set in the Stampin' Up Occasions Mini Catalog. And yes, I did cut those out by hand, but really it didn't take long. It was not very difficult with the Stampin' Up paper snips. And then I've added some basic pearls. Aren't those pretty as little accents? And I spritzed them with some smooch spritz. So that was my Emboss Resist with the teacup and the Hello Doily. And then just a couple of other samples I also wanted to show you with the Hello Friend set. I embossed in black with the black craft pad and clear ink. And then I sponged with some cherry cobbler and some Daffodil Delight, and where they meet and overlap, they kind of give an orange effect. So kind of a pretty little sunset sort of a look there. And then I did the same idea on the first edition DSP, but I just did the cherry cobbler and then a little bit of Sahara sand to give that a little bit of an antique kind of a look. So that was a different idea using the Emboss Resist technique. So here's your challenge. I want you to go ahead and pick a stamp, pick a color of ink and embossing powder, and then I want you to emboss and do the resist with the sponge and the classic ink. And then my group is going to share their samples on my Love to Stamp Yahoo group. And if you are a customer or not a member of my downline, feel free to put a comment and link to your sample on my blog. Just post your comment there and I'd be happy to have you participate. Alrighty, thanks. Hope you enjoyed that.